Round one. Ad mortem inimicus! Victory!
Hi guys, I'm Jamie and I have another For Honor Hero guide focusing on Lawbringer. I know there are other Lawbringer guides out there, but again, in my opinion, these are suboptimal and tend to be geared towards beginners and more casual players. As per usual, we'll start off with the basic damage numbers, then we'll move on to punishes for parries and exhaustion. In this current patch version 1.06, the developer pushed Lawbringer's shove into a genuine 50-50, so the light after shove is not blockable at all. I'll talk about the balance issues that this raises later on in the video, but for now let's crack on. Now both Lawbringer's light and heavy attacks do a fairly average amount of damage when compared to the other heroes, as you can see in the charts. As per usual, when you and your opponent are in stalemate, you want to throw a mixture of these, lights, heavies and feints, in order to throw off your opponent's parry timing. Of course, you can always play complete turtle, but this is boring and completely lacks challenge. A couple of things to note here is that Lawbringer's light attacks are actually fairly fast, especially that top light attack, which can be used to effectively interrupt a lot of actions. Also, as long as you're not right next to your opponent, any heavy attacks that you do that are parried are not punishable with guard break. Let's talk about parrying with the Lawbringer and the most optimal punishes for each situation. First, what to do when you parry a heavy attack. Now, I've not directly mentioned this in any previous videos, and I'm aware that less experienced players may not know this, so just quickly, parrying a heavy attack provides a window of opportunity for you to punish your opponent. Parrying a light attack, on the other hand, provides an even larger window of opportunity, which allows you to often get in full heavy attacks straight off the parry. Lawbringer in particular has more options than any other hero when it comes to parrying any attacks. On parrying a heavy attack, you only really want to choose one of 3 or 4 options. The highest damage option available to you is the impaling riposte into a wall followed by a top heavy. This guarantees 50 damage for you. A couple things to note here is that if you parry a left side heavy attack, then you want to impaling riposte towards the left, otherwise they'll be able to block it. If you parry a right side heavy attack, then impaling riposte towards the right. Secondly, the reason we top heavy once they hit the wall is because it provides you with a stun. This combined with the speed and ambiguity of Lawbringer's follow-up light attack gives you a pretty good chance of landing that extra 15 damage, with very little risk of being parried in return. Of course, the most important requirement for this option is for there to be a wall behind your opponent for you to impale them into, so keep this in mind. The next highest damage option is simply to guard break into a side heavy followed up by a shove. This shove after that side heavy is guaranteed, so you get to go straight into that shove 50-50 mix-up, which I'll discuss in more detail later on. The only requirements for this punish is that your opponent be close enough to you for you to be able to guard break them post-parry. It won't work versus Nobushi or Valkyrie, and likely won't work versus a Kensei or a Lawbringer either due to the range of their heavy attack. An easy solution for those ranged heavy attacks is to follow a heavy parry with a zone attack or make way. This is 25 damage guaranteed against all opponents regardless of range, which is enough to take out their last bar of regenerating HP. Lastly, for the heavy punishes we have the light riposte, which for the most part is useless, but there are a couple things you can do with it. The stun does allow for opportunity to get more damage than the measly 15 damage this offers, so follow it up with either a guard break or a heavy. The only real time I would recommend this over one of the other options, however, is in a very specific situation. 1, you're against an opponent with ranged heavies which aren't punishable with a guard break, and 2, the parry exhausts them. In this case, they won't fall straight to the floor because they were exhausted after the parry. Just follow the light riposte with a heavy attack, which doesn't matter if it's blocked, and then another heavy attack, which is now your unblockable. This gives you the chance for a pretty deadly mix-up. Now, because this mix-up is more fundamental to the exhaustion punish that we will discuss later on, I will discuss it further when we get to that part. Okay, so that's all the options you'll realistically use when parrying a heavy attack. Now, we'll move on to light parries. Now, because you get more time to punish when you parry a light attack, any of the parry punishes that we used for heavy attacks still apply when parrying a light attack. For that reason, the highest damage is still the impaling riposte into a wall, followed by top heavy. That's 50 damage guaranteed, and a really good chance for 65 damage. A new option specific to the light parries is the signature move of Lawbringer, his Ad Mortem Inimicus top heavy. This option doesn't need a wall and can be used anywhere for a very good 45 damage and a stun. Its disadvantages over the Impaling Riposte are twofold, however. 1, it does less damage, and 2, the top heavy attack here is not a combo starter unlike with the Impaling Riposte. This means any follow-up attacks are slower and more likely to be blocked and make less use of the stun. It is a really cool move, however, so figure out what's important to you as a person and make a decision. Generally speaking, those are the only two options you'll choose from when parrying a light attack. Now for one of my favourite parts of Lawbringer's kit. Here's Exhaustion Punish. Very simply, when you guard break an exhausted person, you throw them forwards, dash forwards, top light them into top heavy. This gets you 50 damage and a stun. Next, we throw out another heavy, which will be an unblockable heavy. This is our chance for mix-up. Because our opponent is out of stamina, going for a parry against this unblockable is extremely risky. If you cancel the unblockable, then their parry will be a free parry for you, meaning that they'll be on the floor again and you can start the whole process right from the beginning. The only difference being that you no longer need to dash forward before you do the top light, top heavy. If you feel that your opponent is instead going to try and dodge your unblockable, cancel it into a guard break. This guard break will catch any dodges, you can then throw them forward, and again we're right back at the start. Another 50 damage, stun and mix up. The last option your opponent may choose is to just stand still and wait for the guard break. If you feel like this is what they're going to do, then simply let your unblockable fly and you'll net another 45 damage and stun. Okay, I'm going to talk about Lawbringer's 50-50 on shove now. It's going to be part guide and part what the fuck. Now, if all you want to do is win games, which really doesn't mean anything and you won't improve this way, then all you need to do is block an attack and press X afterwards. This leads to a guaranteed shove on every single block. You don't have to risk anything at all. You don't have to risk anything by parrying. You don't have to try to predict which attacks your opponent's going to feint and which ones they're going to let through. You don't have to dodge anything and risk getting guard broken, and you certainly don't have to throw out any attacks and risk getting parried. All you need to do is block an attack, press X, and you're into that 50-50 and free damage. After the shove connects, most heroes only have two options. No, they can't start unlocking and rolling away, because if you were to shove into side heavy, the side heavy actually catches them on their roll away. Also, even if this didn't work, after they roll, they'll lose stamina, then you're back in stalemate again. You'll just block and shove again, they'll eventually run out of stamina, then no more rolls, it's game over. Anyway, the two options that they'll have is either to predict that you'll light attack, and in which case they'll dodge to the side and try to guard break you or do whatever punish they can, or predict that you'll guard break, in which case they'll stand still and try to counter guard break. If they dodge predicting a light attack, then your guard break will hit them and therefore free damage for you. If they stand still waiting for a counter guard break, then your unblockable light attack will go through, therefore free damage again. Some characters can dash to the side and attack at the same time, namely assassins. Again, this doesn't help anything. If the Lawbringer predicts that that's what they're going to do, then all he needs to do is shove and then do nothing. Then he gets a free parry. Most of the time this will be a free light parry into a huge punish and huge damage. Long story short, we'll see tournaments very soon with Lawbringers netting top spots without risking a single thing. All they'll do is block attacks and shove, and they'll win games by this and win spots by this. Personally, I find it quite sad that the devs say they're trying to sort out the turtle meta, and in doing so they probably create the worst turtle ever in existence. Somebody that literally doesn't need to risk a single thing, not even a parry, and gets rewarded for it. I should say though that the dash into shove is completely legitimate. The 50-50 from that, in my opinion, is honestly fine. The move is very telegraphed, it's easy to dodge, so if you get hit by it, it's your own fault and you do deserve to get punished with whatever the Lawbringer decides is going to be your punish, whether it be a top light or a guard break. Anyway, with that out the way, the last thing that I wanted to mention, very small, but if you're fairly new to duels and you're not so experienced a player, don't lead your fight with an impaling charge. It's incredibly obvious, and if it's parried, which it will be, you're instantly exhausted and you'll be thrown to the ground from a free guard break. So yeah. Apart from that, that's everything I have for Lawbringer. If you feel like I missed anything important, then please let me know in the comments below. If you fancy it, then feel free to subscribe and like my video, and thank you very much for watching.